Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. And it's been a while. It's been about a week since we've been on. Busy week last week for me. So I do appreciate you hanging on, tuning in. Let me turn on this light here. But you're all welcome, guys. Busy show tonight. Plenty to get into and plenty to discuss. As you can see by the title of the video, the heat is on for Benjamin Sesko, and are Manchester United progressing in any way, shape or form to get a deal done for him? We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to be talking as well, guys, about Fabrizio Romano's report suggesting that United could potentially bring in 2 or 3 more players by the end of the window. Outgoings as well. More links about Garnacho to Chelsea. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Antony's move potentially to Saudi Arabia. Surely to God we are due a nice little chunk of a transfer fee from Saudi Arabia. Oh, we're overdue. Everyone else seems to be getting them. Why can't we get one? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Jadon Sancho. Dortmund are back into the race for Jadon Sancho. We'll discuss that. And then we've got some good news, guys, in a couple of different ways. VTech has gone out on loan. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And Laurie Whitwell has been speaking about the potential return of Lisandro Martinez also. And it might not be as long as we think. But please do smash a like on the video, guys, if you haven't done so already. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers, but more than anything, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know your opinions around Sesko, around Antony, around Sancho, around Garnacho, the whole lot. Let's jump right into the live chat. Who have we got in? Neil is in, says evening all. Ben is there as well. Good to see you guys. Finn is in the live chat there as well. Jump in and say hello, guys, if you haven't done so already. And do smash a like on the video. Hit that like button for me. It gets the algorithm flowing in the background. It gets more people in. YouTube throw it out to more people. The channel grows just by... It's free to do, all right? Fucking hit the like button, emoji. Right sound. Right, let's jump into it. And let's talk first and foremost. There's only one place to start, really, isn't there? And it is in relation to Benjamin Sesko. Now, we've heard a couple of reports over the weekend suggesting United are interested. We know Newcastle are heavily involved in a potential deal for him as well. And yeah, to be honest with you, look, I'm not against Sesko at all. I'm really not. I think he would be a good signing for us. And I'll get into the reasoning in a few minutes as to why I think it might be a bit of a risk, and I've spoke about it before. But firstly, guys, Pletty Goal has come out today and he says, so obviously Florian Plettenberg works for Sky in Germany. It says, Man United are not giving up on Benjamin Sesko. They have presented Sesko with clear figures and their project. Sesko is impressed by United's efforts to sign him. However, Newcastle are fully in the race and are not backing down. An offer is ready to be submitted at any time. Leipzig are now demanding at least 80 million euros. So we're talking about, I think, is it around 68, 69 million pounds sterling? And then you would have to include add-ons on that as well. Now, Fabrizio Romano has given us an update as well, guys. He spoke a couple of times today on his own YouTube channel and on DAZN Football. He says, my understanding is that Newcastle already spoke to the agents of the player and presented their project. They are prepared to pay whatever it takes to get Sesko, but Man United are still in the race. They made contact in the recent days after discussing internally. Now they are working on the player side to present their project to understand the financials that they can make it happen. Now, sorry, let me zoom in on that a little bit so you can see it. So yeah, and look, Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United, what do we think about it? I mean, in a way, it's... And this is no real dig at the player. I mean, this can happen for any reasoning at all, but we're down... It's not that we're left with Sesko, but Sesko is the next one on the chopping block to be moved. And look, we said on multiple occasions, going as far back as February, March, that this was going to be a striker window and a striker market. And we've seen Osimhen move. We've seen Gyökeres move. We've seen Ekitike move. And we're now talking about Benjamin Sesko. And Manchester United have been, I suppose, not in, but have been interested in the previous 3 that we mentioned. Now, does that mean that I don't want Sesko? Absolutely not. I mean, Sesko would be a very good signing for Manchester United, and I do think he is a very good footballer. I really, really do. I just don't know what the financials around a potential deal for him would look like to Manchester United. I don't know if we'd be able to afford him, to be quite honest with you. Now, maybe we are, and United would have to structure a deal quite smartly, because we know that there was money for about 2 players to be signed before we had to sell, and we haven't sold anybody yet. So can we go out and drop another 69, maybe 70 million pounds for Benjamin Sesko plus add-ons? That remains to be seen, and I'm not 100% sure. There is, however, supposedly a gentleman's agreement. Now, we've heard these gentlemen's agreement already, haven't we, with Gyökeres and Sporting Lisbon, and they didn't really stand up to their gentleman's agreement too much, the president of Sporting. But supposedly, there is a gentleman's agreement that Benjamin Sesko can go for around 60 million if a special club comes in looking for him. And that special club is deemed special by Benjamin Sesko. Are Man United on that list? I think if we're speaking about having such a, it's not even a clause, but having such an agreement in place behind the scenes, then I think Manchester United probably are one of them special clubs. Benjamin Sesko seems to be, I won't say a United fan, but he follows United on social media and all. And look, I'm not going to get carried away with that. We've been burnt by that one a number of times down through the years. But I certainly think if we're talking about if a special club comes in and it's between Manchester United and Newcastle, then it is Manchester United. And sorry to any Newcastle fans that are listening, but historically and, size-wise and just everything in general, Manchester United are vastly superior to Newcastle. The only thing Newcastle have over Manchester United currently is that they can offer European football. Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United for big money like that is something that it doesn't fill me massively with confidence. That's what I would say. He's 22 years of age. He's the same age as Rasmus Højlund. Now, I think he's light years ahead of Rasmus Højlund. But we are going back in and talking about a potential... is it a potential signing, a potential player, a player with plenty of potential for the future, or is he ready to hit the ground running? Now, we've spoken in depth as well, haven't we, about Ollie Watkins and what potentially he could bring to Manchester United. Do you go out and spend £69 million on a 22-year-old in Benjamin Sesko, who's unproven in the Premier League? Or do you go out and try it? And again, this all comes down to finances, in my opinion. It all comes down to finances. If you could get Ollie Watkins for 40, 45 million, I would go for Ollie Watkins over Benjamin Sesko. But if you could get Benjamin Sesko for 60 with this gentleman's agreement that's in place, I think that probably sways me a little bit more towards Sesko. The one thing I would say is that Ollie Watkins is a safer option for Manchester United at the moment. It's the safer option. We can't take chances in the transfer market because of how much we were burnt over the last few years. The likes of Rasmus Højlund coming in, didn't do well. Look, we could list, 20 players over the last 10 or 15 years that haven't worked out. And we've seen United move towards a Premier League proven style of transfer window with Mbeumo and with Cunha coming in. And I think if you were to go and try and, I suppose, build on top of that, then it's Watkins for me, in my eyes. Now, there's pros and cons to both. Manchester United have been scouting Benjamin Sesko for 3 years now and are, have been keen admirers of him long before even Ineos got here. And obviously, when you bring the Christopher Vivell scenario into Manchester United as well, where he's got heavy ties, ties as in kids ties, but ties, TIES, in the Bundesliga, and he's got a vast knowledge of players playing in that league, and of course the whole Red Bull umbrella as well, that he was involved with, while Sesko was at RB Salzburg. He's well scouted. He's absolutely well scouted. But again, you're taking a chance. You're taking a chance by going out and signing another 22-year-old. You really, really are. And if it doesn't pay off, we're in big trouble. Look, we've been going... How far back have we been going? last summer we were talking about, Highland had a average enough for a season. We went out and got what we thought was a striker. It turned out to be Xerxes, who's not a number 9. The year before, it was, Ten Hag relying on Antony Martial, who couldn't stay fit. The year before, it was Cristiano Ronaldo, who tended to throw his ties out of the pram and have interviews with, certain scummy journalists. You go back to Edison Cavani before that, who, was completely disrespected when Cristiano Ronaldo came in and shunted and cast aside. You go back to Ibrahimovic, who had one good season, then couldn't stay fit after that and got injuries. You go back to Robin Van Persie, who had one good season under Ferguson and everything changed. And, when was the last time Manchester United signed a striker that was scoring 20 goals a season on the regular for 5 or 6 years? You'd probably have to go back as far as Wayne Rooney, to be quite honest with you. So it's a big concern. It is a big concern. And it's a concern that the powers that be at Manchester United need to get this right. They need to get this striker search right this summer. If you're going to go out and pay 60 million for Benjamin Sesko, and you can get it in installments, and you can get it, over a 4 installment plan, like we said before, where it's, 15 million over 4 different installments, then absolutely fantastic. But if it's 60 million and you've got to pay, 50 of it up front, and then you've got to pay another 10 next year, and you've got installments of another 10 on top of that of add-ons, and it gets messy. If you go out and get Ollie Watkins, and you can get him for 45 million pounds off Aston Villa, Premier League proven, you get 2-3 years out of it, fantastic. And maybe in 2 years' time, then you go back into the market for a striker, to preempt Ollie Watkins coming to the end of maybe his peak in a year or 2 or 3 years' time. I think that's probably the safer option in my eyes, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't want Benjamin Sesko if he comes to Manchester United. I really wouldn't. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Guys, take a second, smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. We've only got 8 likes in the door so far. Terrible carry on from me. Take a second. If you're in the live chat, just X off the live chat, hit the like button on your phone and jump back in. Then it helps the channel out massively. What are we saying here? Ben is in. He says, is there a reported fee? Yeah, we discussed that. How much is wanted for Watkins? We don't really know. Aston Villa supposedly are talking at about 60 million. Are you going to realistically get that for him? The thing about it is with Ollie Watkins, Aston Villa, Manchester United, is that everybody knows that Villa are skint. Everybody knows that Villa are skint. And I think Ollie Watkins could be a type of signing that, do you know the way the signings that we have now where, it's going to drag on and drag on and drag on, and, Antony, for example, with Betis, and they'll all of a sudden come up with the money with a week to go in the transfer window because they know United will take anything to get him off the books. I think that's probably what could happen with Ollie Watkins. Everybody knows that Villa are skint. And the reason why Villa are skint is because I think they fourfolded their wages over the last 3 or 4 years. And, they banked on getting into Europe, which they did, and they got into Champions League football, but they didn't sustain it over a 2 or a 3 year period. And they need to sell this summer. And United know that. So, I think you could get Ollie Watkins for a knockdown price of 45 million, maybe, with a couple of weeks to go in the transfer window. But what you do have to realise then is that you're starting the season again with Rasmus Højlund up front. And look, while I've said in the past, I think Rasmus Højlund, I wouldn't be against Rasmus Højlund being kept at Manchester United as a backup. I certainly would like us to be going in to the Arsenal game. If it is Benjamin Sesko, I would could you imagine going into that Arsenal game with a forward line of Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko with Bruno, Ugarte, Ahmad, Dorgu, Delict, Mazraoui, Heaven, it's not a bad side. It's not a bad side. And it's not a bad forward line either. So let's see what happens. Ben says, can footballers stop with these handshakes and put pen to paper with these agreements? Yeah, well, see, I mean, no club is going to really put that into paper because it's set in stone. Then it's not the players, it's the clubs. Players and agents would have probably tried to get these things put into deals and so on and so forth, but clubs are going to go, absolutely not. They say, look, if Man United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus come in for you, and they're the 4 clubs that you want, if they come into you, then look, we'll shake hands and absolutely. But we're not putting in on paper that if someone comes in with, it's like a release clause for all the world. You know what I mean? We need Watkins right now. He's not a risk, but he's too old. I don't think he's too old, to be quite honest with you. I think you could easily get Ollie Watkins on, a 4-year deal. He'd be 33 by the time it ended, and you could look to move him on in 2 or 3 years' time. I just think it would give Manchester United that little bit of wiggle room over the next couple of seasons. I could easily see Ollie Watkins scoring double figures again for another 2 or 3 years in the Premier League. And especially when you have somebody like Cunha and Mbeumo, Bruno, whoever else, Mason Mount, Kobbie Mainoo, all of these very creative players behind him. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely could see him score an awful lot of goals. I think we could get a couple of years out of him. We need Watkins, but we can't get bent over with the price either. And look, Ben, I don't think we have got bent over, with since Ineos have come in. I mean, have we? Maybe Ugarte, maybe we knew we wanted to get somebody in that position, and look, I think Ugarte, I'm tipping Ugarte to have a very good season this year, but maybe we kind of jumped to their valuation. I think Lenny Yoro, we needed to go high with Lenny Yoro to keep him out of the grasps of Real Madrid, but I think with Cunha and with Mbeumo, I mean, I think it's good. It's great value for money considering how the payments are broken down. I think it's very, very good. Ben says, for right now, I think it has to be Watkins and maybe a bigger striker to build on next year. Yeah, I agree. Anna says, I feel like we're never going to get Sesko, but I would love him. Technically fast and great header off the ball. To be honest with you, I have a feeling we could get Sesko. I just have a sneaky suspicion. It's been made very public about Manchester United going for him over the past day or so, and it's not that we've missed out on other strikers. Like, we haven't, right? Maybe we missed out on Gyökeres, but it looked like he always wanted Arsenal, and we couldn't offer him Champions League football. We did want Osimhen, but he was never going to lower his wages, and I don't think we were ever fully in for Ekitike. We inquired about him and what it might cost, and we went, ooh, no thank you. So while I do think we slightly missed out on all of them players, I don't think we were fully in for him. We know now that Manchester United are looking to go for Sesko, and it's been made very public. I don't think United can afford to miss out on him now. And I don't mean that means that United are going to go out and spend silly money on him. And I think ultimately, if we can't get him for the right price, I think we would walk away. But I've just got a sneaky suspicion now that United are going to try really hard to make Benjamin Sesko our next signing. I genuinely do. All of the tick box exercises that you see with the rumor mill and Fabrizio is talking about now, and the only person who hasn't spoken about it really is David Ornstein. We're getting it from Florian Plettenberg, we're getting it from Fabrizio Romano, multiple outlets around England and Germany are talking about it. We've got the connection with Christopher Vivell, who knows him very well now. United have been scouting for you. I've got a feeling we're going to get him. And I mentioned it today on TikTok as well, that or on Instagram, that Benjamin Sesko was offered, or the package from Newcastle was put on the table for Benjamin Sesko last week. Okay, he's waiting. He hasn't accepted anything from Newcastle yet. He's waiting for United to come in. I'm sorry, Newcastle, but if United come in, I think he comes to us. Newcastle have missed out on everybody this summer. Absolutely everybody they've missed out on. They're going for Aaron Ramsdale in the goal. And it looks like they're going to lose out on Isak. Now, the only thing that will sway it in Newcastle's favour, in my eyes, is the finances. Okay? If this whole gentleman's agreement maybe doesn't fall into place for Manchester United, and you're talking about, £70 million, I think Newcastle have that in a heartbeat. And not because they've got rich owners, they've still got to spend within their means, but they've got it in a heartbeat because of the potential Isak sale to Liverpool. By the way, if Liverpool get Isak, the league is over already. Liverpool are going to walk it. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's what's going to maybe allow Newcastle maybe into the race a little bit. But Sesko is holding firm for Manchester United. And I think if we can come in and we can put a package in front of Benjamin Sesko that he's happy with, and he goes, yes, I want to, and then all of a sudden we hear from Sesko that he only wants Manchester United and he doesn't want Newcastle. Let's get fucking negotiating with Leipzig, and then you try and put a good deal in place, which I think United have done. I think we've put a good structure behind Mbeumo and a good structure behind Cunha as well. So happy days. What else are we saying here in the chat? Dara says, I understand what you're saying about Sesko and his age, but Watkins is on the other side of it. Yes, Watkins is proven, but if, and it's a big if, Sesko, there's 5-6 years. Yeah, there is. I mean, there's 10 years with Sesko. If he comes in and he hits the ground running, he scores goals in the Premier League for Manchester United, you've got 10 years potentially with him. Or you've got a minimum of 4, and then you can move him on for, massive money, which is, obviously fantastic. You don't want to see United doing that, but yeah, but it's a risk. That's the initial judgment on it. It's a risk going for Benjamin Sesko ahead of. It's less of a risk going for Watkins, I suppose, than it is for Sesko. D is in. He says, Sesko or Watkins, I couldn't give a monkey's who it is. We could have Ronald McDonald up front next season, so long as they can find the back of the net, and that's what counts. Well, that's what we're here to discuss. Who can hit the back of the net more in the Premier League, Watkins or Benjamin Sesko? 2 more signings and we have a decent looking side on paper, says Finn. D says, we need a striker in the door, so long as they can get the business done, proven or unproven. They should have been on that flight. It's already took far too long, especially if it's Sesko that's in. Well, look, I disagree, D, with that one on the striker front. Nobody has got a striker signed quickly this summer. Arsenal only got Gyökeres done a couple of days ago. Liverpool still don't have one. We still don't have one. The only one that got it done was Chelsea with Delap, and I think that's probably why we were going for Delap. There was nothing we could do about that. He chose Chelsea over us. Nothing we could do, And if Sesko chooses us over Newcastle, there's nothing Newcastle can do. It's been a striker market, and all strikers have been digging their heels in, because like we said, when one goes, boop, 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 the dominoes will fall, and we're starting to see that a little bit now. So I don't think United could have done anything more for a striker. Osimhen wouldn't lower his wages. Gyökeres only wanted Arsenal. Ekitike was too expensive. And now we're on to Sesko. You know what I mean? Tomaldinho is in. He says, Sesko, Cunha and Mbeumo, it's looking scary, but not for us. Well, look, I agree. I think it's a massive upgrade on what we've had last year. When you're talking about having a forward line of Xerxes, Highland and Mason Mount. It's a massive upgrade if we were to get him. Chris is in. We are being used to get Newcastle to jump. No, we're not. We're not. I disagree. I think United are genuinely in for Sesko. We've been scouting him for years. The Vavell links are there now already. We're not going to Leipzig like supposedly we were going to Sporting with Gyökeres. We're actually going to his agents and saying, how much would he want before we go and negotiate a price, Sesko scored 10 goals in Bundesliga last season. I worry he's not clinical. Well, that's the big worry, Chris, isn't it? And you said you'd rather have Watkins. I would rather have Watkins as well. Again, it all depends on the financials. If you can get Watkins for 40 to 50, brilliant. If you could get Sesko for 60 with this so-called gentleman's agreement, then yeah, you're talking longevity. It has to come into play as well, Is there any talk about a keeper? Nope, there's not. Well, small bits, but nothing major. Chris says Sesko's link-up play is not there yet. He's like Highland, he needs service. Well, that's the thing. When you're buying a 22-year-old, you're taking a chance. You're taking a risk. You really, really are. Sesko hasn't lived up to the hype. A couple of highlight reel goals like Rashford. As Michael Owen once said about Marcus, he's a scorer of great goals, not a great goal scorer. There we go. Ben says there's a few times Watkins only scored 10. Chris says Watkins has had over 30 goal involvements over the past 4 years. Means his link-up play is better. D says, I hear what you're saying, but they should have been on that plane, Jack. Spent better part of a month and a half farting about with Brent. Well, look, we're not getting into Mbeumo. I thought we were quite smart in how we moved for Mbeumo. He is still on the pre-season tour with us. I don't think Mbeumo had any part to play in slowing us down going for a striker. Nobody was buying a striker up until last week. So I think if we had got a striker outside of the lap, if we had got a striker before the middle of July, we would have massively overpaid. That was the only way you were going to get one, really. And you don't want us to do that. Anyway, I'm going to move it on, guys. I've still got loads to talk about. As well, actually, there has been some reports about Sesko as well, suggesting that his camp has suggested his preference is to move to Manchester United. At this stage, Newcastle would be considered more of a driving seat due to financial flexibility, but Man United have caught the interest of Sesko, and that's coming from Anil Kandola, who obviously works for TalkSport, so we'll take that with a pinch of salt, as always. But anyway, talking about the transfer window, Fabrizio Romano has been speaking on DAZN today, and he says about the transfer window and about Ruben Amorim. He said it could be 2 or 3 more signings for Manchester United before the end of the window. A striker, as we said, with Sesko in the conversation. A goalkeeper with Martinez. My percentage today is 35%, so not that optimistic, because United last week went to Aston Villa and asked for a loan, and Villa said, forget about it. We want 35 to 40 million, which I don't think we should give. And the third signing could be a midfielder, because maybe in the final weeks of the window, they can find the right opportunity. United could also go for a new midfielder. And I think we could very well potentially go for a new midfielder before the end of the window. And again, just because United don't get a particular signing in before the start of the season doesn't mean that it's a bad deal either. You know, we're prioritising what the club thought was the best course of action, and the manager alongside the club also. The number 10 positions, then the striker. Now, we initially wanted 1 number 10, then a striker. Striker wasn't available, 2 number 10s, and then we'll go for the striker. So, goalkeeper and... I wouldn't be surprised if goalkeeper and central midfielder comes in before the end of the transfer window either. But I don't think United are in too much of a hurry. Let the market settle a little. Let clubs get a little bit desperate to get players off of their books and then pounce for the right price. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, what Fabrizio was saying, guys. But in terms of outgoings then for Manchester United, let me get a little drink of water. While I'm getting a drink of water, you're all going to take a second and smash the like button for me if you haven't done so. If you're watching on your phone, X off the live chat, hit the thumbs up button, and then just pop back into the live chat, alright? Because it helps the channel out an awful lot. And do subscribe as well while I'm getting a drink of water here. Now, here we go. Someone unliked the fucking video. Anyway, we're going to talk about outgoings, guys. And one, I suppose, the player that you would hope and you would, probably be most confident that could bring in some good money this summer is Alejandro Garnacho. Now, again, before we get into the reports, you got to take it into consideration as well what we just mentioned about us going out to sign players and leaving it till late in the window, and you might get a deal. That could potentially happen internally as well. We haven't had any bids. You cannot sell a player unless a bid comes in for him, and you can you can criticise all you want, the board and the owners and whoever's doing the negotiations, but if a bid doesn't come in for a certain player, you can't sell him. We haven't had any bids in yet. We had a bid in for Rashford, albeit it was a loan, and we got the deal done relatively fast. Okay, we have had no bids for Antony, we've had no bids for Sancho, and we've had no bids for Garnacho as of yet. Okay, now reports about Garnacho have suggested that Chelsea retain an interest, and this is coming out from Matt Lawson in the Daily Telegraph. He says Chelsea retain an interest in Manchester United winger Alejandro Garnacho, and the arrival of Xavi Simons will not necessarily close the door on a potential deal for the Argentine. Another report then from Fabrizio Romano, again on DAZN, says Chelsea want Alejandro Garnacho and Xavi Simons. There is a possibility they sign both this summer, but the priority remains Simons at the moment. So, what this means then is that Alejandro Garnacho moving away from Manchester United is going to be the saga that drags on and drags on and drags on until, you know, the end of, like, this time next month we're talking about coming up on the close of the transfer window. So I can see Garnacho not moving until late in this window. Again, look, there is interest from the continent, from, you know, obviously the likes of Napoli were in for him, weren't they? And there was one other one, I can't remember. But then you've also got the likes of Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa can only buy if they sell. And we're interested in a couple of their players. Ollie Watkins, Martinez. Whether we go for them or not, that remains to be seen. Obviously, if we go for somebody like Benjamin Sesko, it shuts the door on us going for somebody like Ollie Watkins. But, you know, and now that I'm just putting all of that into my head, is there a scenario where Benjamin Sesko goes to Newcastle, we move fast then for Watkins, get a deal done for him, then that gives Villa the money to go and get Garnacho off of us? Maybe, I don't know. But there's a lot of things that need to happen technically then before Garnacho leaves Manchester United. The thing about Garnacho is, and it's frustrating because, like I said, he is the one. This is the one. No, I'm not singing that to him. He is the one that can generate some good revenue on the books for Manchester United. You know, if you're talking 40 million, 50 million, whatever the case, I think we should be looking for a minimum of 40 million for him. Absolute minimum of 40 million. When you see what some of the players are going for. I mean, Elanga, 55. Garnacho's worth that. In my eyes, I think he is. Especially with the high ceiling that he's got. But not only is it the money coming in the door, but it's the balance sheet, it's the FFP, and we know that, Garnacho is an academy graduate. It's pure profit on the books, and it frees up an awful lot of space for United then to go out and spend some money. Look, I mean, Garnacho's time is done at Manchester United, really, isn't it? And Ruben Amorim has made it quite clear that whether it's his attitude, well, it is his attitude, because we know the ability with him is there. I said it last November before Ruben Amorim came in. When Ruben Amorim was announced, maybe someone will be able to go back and find the clip, but I said the person with the biggest learning curve was going to be Garnacho, and it was going to be sink or swim for him. It was going to be sink or swim, and he sank. Now, he might not have sank because of his ability. It might have been his attitude. It might have been his unwillingness to adapt, maybe. But nonetheless, Garnacho has not impressed Ruben Amorim. And if you don't impress the manager, you're moved on. And fucking rightly so. Rightly so. And the manager needs to have the power over that as well. And look, when United are looking to get players off the books, generate some revenue, restructure the playing squad, someone like Garnacho, who has come from the academy and who's built a bit of a reputation for himself, in terms of his ability and so on and so forth, that, he does jump out off the sheet as a player that can generate some good revenue. But as it stands, it's all speculation around Garnacho at the moment. You know, there is no concrete offers for Garnacho. There's nobody even negotiating with his entourage about how much a potential salary package would cost, whether it be Villa, whether it be Chelsea. We're not hearing any of that. You know, all we're hearing is reports saying, yeah, that team likes him. Yeah, that team, you know, might take a look at him before the end of the window. And I think the fact that the whole Ruben Amorim versus Alejandro Garnacho was aired so publicly, teams are well aware that all they have to do is wait. All they have to do is wait, and they'll come to United with a week or two to go in the transfer window, and they'll get him for 5 million cheaper. You know, now ultimately that will mean, you know, United will be getting money in regardless. But can United take the chance to go out and spend before you sell? And I don't know if United are willing to take that chance, and that's a concern. Because we need a striker, we need a centre mid, we need a goalkeeper. And if we don't get all of them, then you'll obviously be weaker going in. Now look, again, I mean, the one thing I do have to say is that United don't need a big squad this season. We don't need a big squad. Like I mentioned before, you're going into you're going into a campaign where you're going to have pretty much one game a week, and one game a week means you don't need as big of a squad. And I think sorry, give me 1 sec. I'm just responding to a message here. Yeah, when you've got a big squad, you can deal with injuries a lot better, can't you? Sorry, let me just respond to that there. There we go. Yeah, so when you've got a big squad, you can deal with injuries better, and the fact that United don't need as big of a squad, again, yeah, I mean, how Ruben Amorim sets up his team as well comes into consideration here, because we don't need wingers anymore. We don't need Rashfords. We don't need Garnachos. We don't need Antonys. We don't need Sanchos. These are players that, you know, are surplus to requirements, not only because maybe they're not good enough, but they don't fit Ruben Amorim's system. You know, a Garnacho is a way different type of player than a Matheus Cunha. Matheus Cunha is more of an inside number 10 than Garnacho is traditionally a wide fucking 4-3-3, that wide left forward player, you know. So anyway, yeah, let me see what you guys are saying. We'll get down through your comments here. What money is Fabrizio seeing that we have to spend that kind of cash with no outgoings currently? Well, again, that goes back to what I just mentioned there, and you probably put that in while I was, or before I said it. Are United confident enough to spend money knowing that they're going to be able to offload players before the end of the transfer window? That's the big question. Because if they're confident that they can get players off the books between now and the 1st of September, then they can go, right, let's just go and get a striker. Let's get a centre midfielder. Let's get a goalkeeper. And we're confident we can move on Garnacho, we can move on Sancho, and we can move on Antony, and that'll balance the books for us, you know. I haven't heard anything on Malacia, you know. I mean, fuck me. I might look to see, can I sign him for our B team here locally? We might get a good deal on him. I'm actually looking for a left back. If anyone around the Kilkenny, Carlow, Tipperary, Waterford area knows the left back, wants to come play in Kilkenny, let me know. Let's see. Antony to the Saudi Pro League. We're going to get onto that in a moment. Offer him to Notts County. Yeah, says D. Finn says, I'd keep Garnacho for another season. We know his attitude stinks, but he needs to produce so he gets a call up for his country. I just can't see it happening. I can't see that. And I think, Finn, I think ties have been severed so drastically with him and Amram that I think it's over, to be quite honest with you. I really do. Now, going from Garnacho to another winger, and one that could potentially drum up some good money, and potentially, lads, potentially more money than Garnacho, is Antony. All right, a lot of reports coming out. Where are these coming from? I'm not too sure, but 2.8 million means they're pretty well followed. UOL. Now, look, there's been a number of reports suggesting that Al Nassr, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Jorge Jesus' team are interested in signing Antony. Al Nassr signalled a purchase offer for the player, but has competition from European teams. Manchester United have asked for £50 million. I tell you one thing, lads, if we get £50 million for Antony, there's none of ye can give out about Ineos anymore if we get £50 million for Antony. And like I said at the start of the show, you know, fucking Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Pro League are just going around going, you want money? There's money for that player. You want money? There's money for that player. Liverpool, yeah. Chelsea, yeah. Arsenal, yeah. Fucking Real Madrid, yeah. Barca, yeah. Fucking PSG, yeah. Surely it's our turn now, to cash in on some of the Saudi Pro League money. Surely it's our time. And, I mean, if we could get £50 million for Antony, given what we paid for him. Like, when you think about it, lads, what did we pay? Was it £86 million for Antony? £86 million we paid for Antony. And we would be over the moon, if we got 50 for him. Now, I mean, again, I will he move to the Saudi Pro League? I think he could. I think there is a possibility that he does, with the whole Ronaldo draw and the tax-free and the money you're getting and so on and so forth. And what you're seeing a lot of people do now, and a lot of players, is they're going to Saudi Arabia for a couple of years, a year or two, and they're still in their prime, and they're coming back to Europe then with a bucket load of cash. Can I see Antony doing that? I mean, I do think, in fairness to him, there is a bit of hunger in him. I think, now there might be hunger in him, and then they put his tax-free salary down on the table of 300 grand a week, and he goes, "Oh fuck this, I'm off." But I do think Betis will still be there. There's been a lot of reports over the last week to 10 days or so about a potential move to Atletico Madrid. And look, it's credit to him more than anything else. He's gone to Real Betis. He's revived his career. I mean, 6 months ago, we were talking about Antony as, being the laughing stock of just European football in general. And unfortunately, he played for us. But he's revived his career, in fairness to him. And when you've got interest around Europe, then in Saudi Arabia as well, it can only be a benefit for United. It really can only be a benefit for United. But lads, if we could get 50 million, absolutely. Now, look, I think Manchester United's starting price is 50 million, and somebody will come in with 35 and we'll meet at 40 plus 5 in add-ons or something. You know what I mean? I think that's inevitably what might happen. But it's a credit to him. And look, if he does go to Saudi Arabia, brilliant. It means we'll probably get more money if he goes there. And I would like him to go to Saudi Arabia. Don't get me wrong. But again, I think over the last 6 months, he's done so well at Real Betis that he's probably earned a chance to go to somebody like an Atletico Madrid, where I think he would do quite well. But again, I want him gone to the highest bidder more than anything else. Let me see what you're saying in the chat here before we move it on. Guys, do make sure as well you go over and subscribe to our second channel. You can, it's been flashing up on the screen over here as well. The link is in the description of the video. United Community Channel Clips. So basically all of these lives, if you can't make a live or you want to look back at a certain part, I break them down into all of the different segments that we do throughout a show. And what I'll be doing is I'll be putting up all of the watch along highlights and so on and so forth for the upcoming season on the United Community Channel Clips channel as well. So the link is in the description, guys. Head on over there. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button on that as well. We've got a few we've got a few videos up from last week as well if you want to go check it out. But you can see it flashing up on the side over here. Make sure you do hit the subscribe button there as well. Link is in the description of the video. Go check it out. Finn says, could Antony be worth another look or not? I don't think so. I don't think so, Finn. Like, if you're looking at Antony potentially coming back to Manchester United, where does he play? Does he play as a wing back? I don't think so. I think he's too erratic on the defensive side of his game. Does he play in one of the number 10s? No. He's that kind of wide forward player that just doesn't fit into Amarim's system. So I think it's time. And like we mentioned, it's the same with Garnacho, it's the same with Rashford, it's the same with Sancho. Them 4 players are all grouped into that same category of wide forward players. And Ruben Amorim just doesn't play that type of system, you know. Can produce, he can fair produce team sheets to the media. Finn says Ten Hag's fault. Dee says 88 million in total. I'm sure it would end up being no. Talking about Saudi, should we be looking at Vega? Maybe so. Maybe so. Antony should do the right thing and stay away to Saudi. Yeah. But yeah, look, I mean, ultimately, I do think that it's going to be again, these deals are probably going to be deals that will get done at the latter stages. Unless Saudi come in and they say, look, we want Antony, we want him now, here's the money, blah, 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 go take it. We'll go, right, happy days, off you jog. Anyway, real quick, guys, on I suppose we mentioned Garnacho. Rashford is gone. We mentioned Garnacho. We mentioned Antony. There's one left. Probably the most unlikable of them all is Jadon Sancho. And reports coming out from Sky Germany today have said that there is contact between Borussia Dortmund and Jadon Sancho. He is open to a return. Of course he is. Of course he is. The only club that will allow him to do what he wants. Manchester United want around 18 to 20 million euros. Dortmund are thinking about the deal and are discussing it internally. They are still undecided. 18 to 20 million. What an absolute waste of money that guy was. But look, we're hearing these reports about Sancho. The kind of whole Sancho to Juventus has died down a little bit. They went and got, can't remember the name of the guy that they got, but they retain an interest in him. We haven't heard anything about any team in England looking at him. Yeah, slim pickings at the moment, to be quite honest with you, with Jadon Sancho. But ultimately, he's going to have to be moved on, guys. Right, going to fly through the last couple of pieces. What have we got next? Radek Vitek has signed a new contract with Manchester United until 2028, and he instantly joined Bristol City on loan for the 25-26 season. This guy looks the real part, looks the real deal. Had a really positive loan spell in Austria last season. And there was some talk about should he come back in and maybe challenge for the number 1 position at Manchester United. United have put cold water on that instantly. He has got a new contract for the next 3 years, which is fantastic. And he does have the opportunity now to go out and do it a little bit closer to home, i.e. Manchester. So look, we wish him all the best, and yeah, hopefully Vitek has a good upcoming season and, you know, continues to improve. Now, finally, guys, probably the best news I've heard today, and that's in relation to this guy, Lisandro Martinez. Now, Laurie Whitwell was speaking on the Talk of the Devils podcast, and he just kind of mentioned in passing that Lisandro Martinez is on the tour, but the expectation is that he will miss the first 3 games of the Premier League season at least. Now, in my opinion, that is good news, because we were expecting initially Lisandro Martinez to be out until the new year. So if we could get Lisandro Martinez back in, you know, late September, early October, I think it would be an absolutely fantastic return date from him. And look, he's looking fit. He's after putting on a bit of muscle, which is always the case when you do, something like an ACL and you're spending time in the gym. You do tend to bulk up a bit because you're not doing as much cardio and running and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But if we could get him back in October, guys, absolutely fantastic work by the medical department behind the scenes, and he's going to be needed throughout the season, because we know how much Ruben Amorim likes that style of centre back. You know, it's well able to play out from the back and break the lines and so on and so forth. Lisandro Martinez has that kind of quality in absolute abundance. So he does. So yeah, guys, look, I mean, interesting few days, interesting weekend in terms of the news that's been coming out around Manchester United. And we're going to keep you up to date on it all week as well. I'm going to be back on Wednesday, as always, with the next live show, 9 o'clock. So make sure you're tuning in for that. Subscribe, turn on the bell notification as well, guys, because we do put up some pre-recorded videos as well. And you do want to obviously not miss out on them. You get a quick little notification when they go up for you. Follow the second, or subscribe to the second channel as well, guys. Like I said, United Community Channel Clips. Link is in the description. You can see it there on the side of the screen. There a moment ago. It's all the clips from our lives, just put into little bite-size, maybe 10 minutes or less clips that you can go and check out at any stage. And like I said, we'll have all of the watch-along highlights and clips from that up on it as well throughout the year. Yeah. Happy days. Good to be back, guys. Happy Monday. Hope you got through the worst day of the week. Okay, you're over the worst of it now. And yeah, let's steamroll our way towards the weekend. Hopefully Manchester United can move in the market for a striker, maybe a centre midfielder, maybe a goalkeeper. Can we get them all done by the end of the week? I'd love to think so, but realistically not. But here's for hoping. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe, guys, if you haven't done so. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe on your way out. All of that good stuff. I'll be back on Wednesday, but I will have a pre-record up tomorrow, so make sure you're tuning in for that. Have a great night, and I'll chat to you tomorrow. Take it easy. Good luck.